Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Numbers, chapter 32, verses 1 through 27. Now, the Gadites and Reubenites, they are herdsmen. They're ranchers. They have flocks of sheep and goats, whatever else, cattle. And they come upon some great grazing land, and they're like, hey, let's settle down here. It's before the people have crossed over the Jordan into the promised land, and that's a problem because they're supposed to go together as a group. And so Moses becomes frustrated with them and says, should your fellow Israelites have to go to war while you just sit here fat and happy, right? And he calls them. He calls them out and says they're a brood of sinners. This is in verse 14, and says, think about what happened in the past when God's people didn't want to go forward, how that brought God's punishment on us because we didn't go where God was leading us. Are you going to do the same thing? And I think this is a great story for us to talk about the church. Are we, as God's people, are we willing to go do spiritual battle after our salvation has come to us? Are we willing to go to spiritual battle after we are comfortable in the Lord? Will we arm ourselves for spiritual battle on behalf of others? Think about this, is that Jesus Christ was your warrior. He crossed over the boundary between heaven and earth, took on your mortal nature so that he could win a battle for you that was impossible for you to win on your own. And now God calls us to be a part of his effort, right? To be there in the midst of spiritual battles, to walk alongside people. Will we do that, or will we just sit back fat and happy? One of the things they do is they build protective walls around the communities of the Gadites and the Reubenites, and then the half tribe of Manasseh joins them too. And so they're settling down, and they allow for that. You do need to protect home base. But the purpose of that is to go back into battle, to win the promised land for others. And are you willing to put in the effort so others can cross over to that promised land? Are you willing to do that for young people, especially for your own children? Are you willing to put in the effort to read the Bible, to go to worship, to pray on your knees for them, so that the spiritual battle can be won for their behalf? What about young families? What are you willing to do so that young families can come to worship and hear the word? What are you willing to do at the church, whether it's having a nursery, a daycare, whatever it is, making sure there's a Sunday school, so that these young families can reach that promised land of God's blessings? What about the unchurched that are out there around us? Do we just ignore them and say, well, we got ours, we're fat and happy in our promised land, but they can just sit there and get ready for hell? No, we are called to do spiritual battle, not with swords and shields, but with love and kindness, with the weapons of the Spirit, with faith, with prayer, with the Word of God. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.